Hey everyone, I'm back to continue the discussion. I've been sharing about the experiences of visionary slips and all that crazy stuff from 99 to 2000, and I gotta tell you, for me to be able to tell this story has been like an uphill battle. Like, I was looking over the last video and I feel like I pretty much got everything I want said in there, but man, talking is not my strength, but as much as I have to share, so maybe I just need to work on that. Like I was told in my visions, Rosie tells me, Jody, you need to learn to write. So what I want to do differently is maybe we'll talk while I'm walking uphill. What I have in mind is, I've mentioned in my past videos, this is right out my back door. And so, most of my videos have been right here in this house and front of that same wall, and I feel like, doesn't that get old? Like, there's another, like, you probably look through my videos and probably think they're just the same thing over and over. Right? So now we're gonna get all aboard the boogie wagon. Now normally, and I can't drive without having some dope techno playing, but my CD player isn't working right. And so the ceiling material was disintegrating, so I had to take that all off. But so sad. This is a 93 Chevy, so I mean it's in pretty good shape other than stuff like that. But let's get going. I want to show you where I live because part of the story I'm telling you here had put a lot of paranoia in me about the possibility of being stalked by, if not Bill Lieb, then somebody I don't know. And I just, don't want to assume Bill Lieb would do anything like that. But something I've had to learn to get over is being paranoid about stuff like that. And if anybody wants to investigate me, they've got nothing to see here, folks. Move along. So, so I'm not afraid to show you where I live. That this is the back of my house now. I was told back in those visions that I would be contacted in my backyard of my house, and I thought, well, I live in an apartment. Well, now I live in a house with a backyard, so maybe those visions have yet to unfold. So, see that's my piano. See, I parked the piano right next to the boogie wagon. Ha! How appropriate. Now, this is 8th Street, and I live really close to Highway 93, so it's not the same highway as we had in Boulder from Golden. So Highway 93 is like, you go right here. So if you were coming to visit me, you would come down Highway 93 and just take 8th Street to get over here. I live by Flathead High School, and their symbol is the arrow. They are the Braves. So it's kind of cool that they've had these little arrows painted up and down the street here. And I was working for a shuttle company called Arrow Shuttle, and I just felt like, I got these arrows all around me. I really love the symbology here. So anyways, I really wanted to share my story about discovering that a person named Baldus Van Buren. So I've been hearing about this person all these years, and it's just another one of those ways that they tricked my mind. And I think it's a colorful example of how information from the future can be taken from the future to the past, and I think it was done deliberately to teach me a lesson about how this works. And so I'm thinking, okay, so at some point after we got back from Key West, so I told you about that whole trip in my last story, and I'm starting to figure out something weird's going on, and people are trying to tell me that somebody loves me and they want to marry me. And then I'm in the mailroom, get my mail, and I see this name, Baldus and Van Buren, side by side. It looked like a first and last name. And they were living in 311. So when I saw that, it's like, another one of those big revelations for me. Okay, because then I'm like, that's right, Jason told me. Actually, a few people have told me about Bill Lieb's other name as being Baldus Van Buren, or that I had this old friend named Baldus Van Buren. And so that's where I started remembering stuff, because I started, that's how it kind of connected everything for me, Like, and so that's where I kind of want to go back to the beginning of my story and talk about all the different times that Baldus Van Buren was brought up, you know. I think this is a really neat neighborhood. I kind of wish I could live down here on this end of town, so that I'm really close to the cliff there. So those are a bunch of cliffs that are part of Lone Pine Park. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make it all the way to the top of that, but I want to do is take you all to the bottom of that that rock formation and show you a neat hiking place. I'm thinking, you know, while I'm telling my story, I'll probably be able to show a little bit of that trail. But just a really neat area. But this is one of the perks of living here in Kalispell, is having hiking trails like this all around me. So this is something I don't have if I was in Denver, is to be able to go just a short drive and I could be right in the middle of the woods. I might be near a highway, but let's see here. I'm gonna turn you back around. Ow. When I think back to like 1982 when I first met Billy, so we go to their house. You know, they're living in a trailer house kind of like ours, and me and Billy were just sitting there, and I just sitting on that floor, you know, just looking at each other and listening to the adults talk. And that's when I heard Rosie explaining to my mom and dad everything that's going on. Now this is a double roundabout, by the way. So this is alternate route 93, which is kind of a new part of Kalispell here. So that way all the big traffic won't go right downtown. So definitely one of the fun features. If I got on this road and went north, I could take it to Whitefish or connect to Whitefish. So woohoo! Very fun. So let's see here. I gotta make sure I don't miss my mark. You can easily goof this up. Now if you want to go straight up that way, that's how you get up to Foy's Lake, and then you can take the other road to the top of the mountain. But here we gotta just take the very next one. Boom, here we go. So anyways, Rosie laid it down. She explained everything to my mom and dad. You know, his name is Baldus Van Buren, but we call him Billy because it's easier. And he came here by a form of time travel to meet his future wife. And then she explained how we need to look out for Frontline Assembly. He's going to be known as Bill Lieb. So the very next time we went to visit those guys, it was just me and my mom, and it was during daytime. So that time it was nighttime. I remember me and Billy hardly talked, but when we went outside to play, by the way, Billy said he wanted me to chase him, and I asked him if he meant, do you want to play tag? And he goes, nope, I just want you to chase me. Anyways, the next day I come over to play during daylight, and we went out back, and he told me a bunch of the same stuff, that his real name is Baldus Van Buren, but he likes to be called Billy because his brothers were calling him mean names, and he can't say what it is because it's a bad word. So what he was saying is his brothers call him bald ass. Okay, now he said someday he'll be a famous rock star known as Bill Lieb and Frontline Assembly, electronic music, the whole 9 yards. So but he also said, I asked him why Bill Lieb. He said, well, Bill Lieb is the name my father gave me. So this is where I'm wondering, is his name actually Bill Lieb, or is it a stage name? And then the Baldus Van Buren thing could have just been a coincidence. So this is where I think it makes a clever joke, if it's just meant to get my attention and show me something. But it strung this whole story together, you know. When I think back to like 1982, that's the first time I heard of it. And then let's see, am I in the right place? I sure hope so. You betcha. See, State Park. Boom, we did it. Oh, listen to that. We're going uphill. All right, I gotta show you out my window. Yeah, so the name Baldus Van Buren didn't come up for quite a while, you know, like so I had Billy come to me at certain points, like so Rosie had him. Then my parents had this friend named Bill and Stella that lived on the Navy base. They had him a couple times. They brought him to the beach one time. We're out on Boca Chica Road and they had him out there. And then I went over to my friend Juan Long's house and I talked to him over there. Now that's a conversation where alright, so I'm about to park this puppy. Whew. So it's a little hard to talk and drive at the same time, right? So maybe I'll be able to share more now that we parked the car. I'm only gonna roll up the windows to keep somebody's dog from jumping in here, okay? Now, boy, I'm just wondering if I need my note paper here or not. So, yeah, this is where I like to go. I think this is one of the neatest hiking places in the whole valley, actually. Now, I've got some people coming by, so hey. Hey. Hi there. Alright, you guys, so anyways, let's see where I'm at. My story is, when did this come up again? So the name Baldus didn't come up for quite a while. I think the very next time I can think of is shortly after I thought I saw Bill Lieb on the Navy base. He came to my Taekwondo class and I think he was there for a few days or a week, and I thought I noticed him, and I told that whole story in another video, so I'm just going to keep it really brief to mention that the last time I seen him, this woman pointed to him like right before he went out the door. She said, "You see that guy? He's going to help you get into the music business someday." And she said his name was Baldus Van Buren. And so the connection I was making is like that I saw him on the Navy base on career day, and that my dad had written to Bushido. Maybe there was a half a chance that this was somebody that they sent, that Gary Livermore might have sent him to check me out. Now, I think one of the last times I rode the school bus home, there's a kid named Sam. We used to go to church with him and his family a long time ago, and I haven't seen him in a very long time, by the way. But he said, there's this kid named Baldus Van Buren who was talking crap about me. And he said that I was caught masturbating with a test tube. And I thought, you know, that reminds me of the time when I was in science class in like 7th grade. And I was trying to make a joke to my friend Sean. I was pretending like the test tube was a wiener. You know, like really, you know, that turned into a big rumor, and somebody's talking about that. So look how far I've gone. Just a few seconds, huh? Just a few minutes. Woo! Right? So, next time I think I heard of Baldus, my friend Milan brought him up. So my friend Milan was from Croatia, and we made friends over music. And so he seemed to know a few people back in Europe that are in the music business. Like maybe him and his friends used to hang out with the bass player from Leibach or something. Holy smoly. Now, we have a tough decision to make here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you where I am. I can go this way, or I can go this way. Now, it sounds of my breathing. I don't know if I want to go that way. This is called Valley View. That's because you get a good view of the valley. Remember the TV show The Big Valley? Bum bum ba-dum bum ba-dum bum bum. Well, there you have it. We have that very big valley. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of big valleys, but we have one here. Now, my friend Milan brought up this friend named Baldus that I'd like to meet someday, you know. I was saying I'm going to move to Europe so I can meet a cool guy that listens to electronic music like I do. And he goes, well, you don't have to do that. What if he's here already? He started telling me about this friend named Baldus and how he He kind of shaves everything off but just the top of his hair, kind of dark wavy hair, listens to all the music that I like, and then see, I had a boyfriend when I was in Taekwondo class. I was in the Navy, and he was Mr. Hot Rod, you know. So he had a motorcycle one day, and we were riding on this motorcycle. He's doing like 120. I was like, ah! And he yelled at me when we got there, "Why were you screaming at me like that?" I said, "Well, you almost killed us." He said, "No, I did not. I know what I'm doing." So anyways, he and I broke up shortly after that conversation. He didn't seem to care much about my life. And he said, "Yeah, well, you don't seem to care about blah, blah, blah." Anyways, ironically, that boyfriend, Michael, I met him in Taekwondo class, by the way. And he was a good-looking guy with big muscles, right? So, yeah. He ended up crashing and killing his new girlfriend in a car ride. I think they might have been drinking and driving, and by all means, they were cruising around Dead Man's Curve at probably 3 or 4 times the speed limit. So anyways, I was in a classroom talking to a girl about this, and she was kind of filling me in on the rest of the story, but then she brought up that there's somebody named Baldus Van Buren on campus looking for me. That's kind of weird. So now I'm tempted to just sit down here, but it's like right in the broad daylight. I don't like that so much. Let's see now. I brought my list. I don't want to forget any of these points, right? Hi there. Hello, fluffy tail. Oh my goodness, I have it the wrong way. Now let's see here. I wanted to let that person go by. That's where I'm just like, ooh, do I really want to go up there? Oh my goodness. So, now, when I got to Denver, I made friends with that guy Aaron because he saw that I had on a decroup shirt, and I ended up taking him to Frontline Assembly. But then he had that friend named Bob, and that's one of those times where so I'm kind of thinking that book my dad read to me, told me about, he was reading. It had all these things kind of like, you know, that they put them in touch and she didn't know about it. This was one of those things. And then later I had that friend named Dan. Now when Dan had his own apartment, he invited me over, and he wanted me to just go out back and hang out in the courtyard and bring my wooden sword and just go over some moves, and then his friend Bob was going to drop him off, and he just wanted his friend Bob to see that. So this guy in a white Trans Am pulls up and drops off Daniel, and he almost looked like Bill Leeb, but he looked like Bill Leeb used to look like he I'd say by that point Bill's hair was starting to go blonde again, right? So here's where I'm at. So I thought, your friend Bob looks an awful lot like Bill Leeb. See how steep that is? Woo. But then when Dan lost his place, he came to stay with me for a while. I'm thinking at some point in '98, Dan said he wanted to have a friend over. And I said, well, sure. So I come home from work, and Dan's telling me about his friend. He's got this friend named Baldus, and he used to know me when I was 6 years old, and we used to play in the backyard of this lady named Rosie. This lady named Rosie was taking care of him, and I'm like, I don't remember that. And I'm just thinking, if he would have said Billy, maybe I would have remembered, but I just couldn't think of anybody named Baldus. He said, Jody, you know, you're very absent-minded. You know, you should remember this, you know. And then when I was hanging out with that guy Jason, a little later the same year, he was bringing up stuff about Bill Leeb, and he lives in my building. I'm gonna see him around. He's gonna have on a beige jacket. He's going to be wearing a red ski cap. Sometimes he's got a green one. Maybe I'll see him riding his bike. And then trying to think, where else did Baldus come up? Yeah. Wow, it's been 20 minutes into this video since I started in my living room. You bet. So, kind of think where baldness comes up in my conversations, because that's when, oh yeah. So I brought up the thing about Dan here because, you know, now, that day that he had me see his friend Bob that I thought looked like Bill Lieb, he was telling me, you know, how Bob likes to shave his ass, and he also does coke, so he's a little worried about his friend having a coke sniffing problem, right? I might just rest my bones up here. I don't want to get too winded while we're talking here. So I see kind of a cozy little ledge here. Might get my butt wet, but so be it. Let's have a seat. So here I am. Now, the reason it's funny is because remember earlier I was saying, you know, Billy was explaining his name is Baldus, but he doesn't like to go by that name because when his brothers pick on him, they say something that he's not allowed to repeat. So I'm thinking that must be bald ass. So shaves his ass, bald ass. There's a little joke that probably only I get. And then the part about the coke sniffing. Well, when I was hanging out with Jason, he was trying to tell me something similar, that Bill Lieb does cocaine and that he's a sugar daddy and what are some of these weird things, you know? So he was telling me stuff that I'm just like, no he don't, no he doesn't, you know, I just couldn't believe it. But then when I went to that warehouse party, I was looking for Bill Lieb everywhere and I couldn't find him. Well, I talked to the guy, the promoter named Christian Howard, and he said the reason I couldn't find Bill Lieb is he was up in a private part of the building and he was doing cocaine all night. And he goes, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. Please don't tell anyone I said that. And of course, the second I needed ammunition, that's what I was saying is, you know, I think Bill Lieb is nothing but a coke-sniffing fashion snob. And people are saying, but Jody, that's slander. So if it's slander, then we have Christian Howard to thank, right? So anyways, it's kind of a bullshitty part of my story, and I don't really like that stuff. Like, so I don't want to spread anything that's not true. I'm just telling you like how the story unfolds and what the kind of things are that people tell me. Now, when I look back to the conversation I had with my friend Rosie in the visionary state, and she was trying to tell me, Jody, you need to learn to write, you know, you need to write this guy. So on one hand, she was telling me I need to write the guy and tell him that I love him, right? Thanks for setting me up for an embarrassing idea. Anyways, she said that she's also a writer, you know, for example, and that she sometimes gets her work published in magazines. And so, I don't know if it was just later that year or the very next year that I was reading that article about Skinny Puppy in Goldmine magazine. It just seemed like there was this one particular section that looked like her exact quotes from 1982, that his name is Baldus Van Buren, but we call him Billy because it's easier, and something about how he came from Austria by a form of time travel to meet his future wife. And then it also went on to say something like his wife is really glad that he left Skinny Puppy because she was thinking if Bill had stayed on with Skinny Puppy, he could have ended up dying of an overdose, kind of like one of the other band members had done. And so that's interesting because I said something like that to Rosie, like, I'm glad he left Skinny Puppy, you know, because I think maybe I heard somebody say, maybe Bill Lieb had said that he wishes he never left them. Anyways, just little stuff like that comes back to me in this way. And so anyways, let me see, before I get to the point, what else did I want to mention? There was that bringing up of Bob again, that jerk named Ken that I let live with me said he had that friend named Bob. So, you know, Baldus and Bob here. So anyways, I think when I discovered Baldus Van Buren on the mailbox in the mailroom, I thought about it. It's like, oh my God, this is what they've been telling me, you know, just like Dan saying, don't you remember? You must be awfully absent-minded, Jody. And I started adding up, like that article. That's another thing. I started remembering that article. And so that's when I went back to see if I could find it. And all that information was gone, right? And that's how I know it must have been a visionary slip, because it looked like a real part of that magazine. It even had a picture of the alien implant and what it looks like as it's attached to the optical cord. So anyway, so once I discovered Baldus Van Buren was living upstairs, I kind of got excited at first that maybe this stuff is true. And not to mention, I think I've seen the character walking around the building a few times, but I could never really tell. It seemed like he was going the other direction, and I was honestly scared to talk to him. I think I could have if I really wanted to, right? So I'd seen him kind of ahead of me. I was going to my apartment, and instead of taking a right, which would take you out the side door, he took a left, which took you into the closet. And then there was another time I'd have to go out back and jump the fence because I didn't have a key, but I had to go into the back courtyard to work on my kung fu. So I was trying to go out every night because I was thinking, you know, I was told that I have a stalker, you know, back when I had the I'm So Sexy thing. And then there was that guy named Bill. He was supposed to be one of the owners, but he wasn't showing his face. So I started thinking, oh, I get it. So they sat me up at that concert and labeled me a stalker, and I'm finding out that it's actually Bill Lieb is the stalker. He's been coming around and checking on me. And so I started remembering a lot of that stuff from my dad's story about how you know, he would come in my apartment and judge me and be like, you know, notice I'm living messy and stuff like that. And so that's where it's like, that's the paranoid stuff. That's where you think I have some type of psychosis or schizophrenia going on there, right? So anyways, I really wanted to share about when I discovered Baldus Van Buren living in that building. That was one of those things that triggered my memory all the way back to 1982. That name was used again and again at different parts where something where it slipped my mind, like when Dan asked me, don't you remember that person named Baldus? I'm like, no, but if he would have said Billy, that would have been more helpful. So now, I don't think Bill Lee's name is really Baldus Van Buren. So I was told, you know, by Rosie in that vision, I should write to him and tell him that I love him. So I did. I knocked on the door one day and said, is there somebody looking for me here? And there was a woman with dark hair saying, nope, not that I know of. And then I think I wrote a brief letter saying that I remember you from Florida, this, and this. And I said, and I want you to know that I love you. Well, I had the landlord pull me aside one day to tell me there's no such person, and these people have absolutely no idea who you are, and if you don't leave them alone, they might have to report you to the police department. So I told him, well, I've been told all this time that this person named Baldus Van Buren is looking for me, and I thought I'd seen him around. And he goes, well, why didn't you just go up and talk to him like an adult? And I was like, yeah, that's like I was saying. It's like maybe I could have, but I really chickened out whenever I saw him. I was going to say, I went to the back of the building to jump the fence, and I was trying to see if I could catch the guy stalking me, and sure enough, I was on Pennsylvania, and I could see somebody crossing a parking lot across the street, coming from the general direction of Wax Tracks and Fashion Nation, where Chris Peterson's girlfriend works, and it looked like the guy who might be Bill Lieb, you know. And so he got all the way up to the sidewalk, and he saw me standing there, and then he kind of looked both ways, and then he started going south on Pennsylvania towards the Netherworld. And that's where I felt like, aha, I caught him. Now, the reason this is such a paranoid story is because I don't want to assume Bill Lieb would do anything like this, right? Let me show you where I'm at. It's as if I'm deep in the jungle right here, right? Hi there.
Oh, sorry.
You bet.
Well, just want to say hi.
You betcha. Yeah. Yeah, I just had someone passing me, so I wanted to give them a chance to go by with their puppy face. She had a really pretty puppy face of a dog, okay? So let me see, what was I saying before I got interrupted is that, you know, I thought I caught the guy coming over to spy on me, you know, so I was trying to see if I could create a pattern and then finally catch the guy, right? And so also, if you look back to some of my other videos, I was talking about, like, I had a dream before I saw the video for Isolate, or in that video it looked like they were splicing parts of my apartment, you know, a piece of the video had my apartment building in it and stuff like this, right? Now, just a lot of weird little stuff like that was going on. I'm starting to get a little off track here because it's so beautiful and I want to show you where I'm at and stuff, but like so once I discovered Baldus Van Buren, it helped me make all those connections, but then I had the landlord pull me aside and tell me there's no such person. Why didn't you talk to him? And it's just kind of funny how like I was being called a stalker, then I come to discover that I have a stalker. And so here's my problem. If this is not Bill Lieb, then who is it? And so I did have an issue with, you know, I've been smoking pot. I was a little bit worried about the landlord reporting me. Maybe there was some undercover police, you know, some kind of undercover detective. What they might do is find out, you know, what your thing is. And if they found out, okay, well, her thing is Bill Lieb, maybe they got somebody that looks like Bill Lieb to come by my place, because there was some other weird stuff going on. So I really wanted to take the time to tell you about how I discovered Baldus Van Buren and how it triggered all my memories, but I think it was a really good joke by my guiding spirits to help illustrate how you can receive information in the visionary state, but it's not necessarily always helpful. It can be a straight up lie or a half-truth of some sort. So there was a person, actually they told me that Baldus and Van Buren are two different people's last names. And I thought it was a first and last name just because of the way it was displayed on the mailbox. So when I found out there was no such person as Baldus Van Buren, that was really scary to me, thinking I had a stalker. The person looked like they could have been Bill Lee, but we're not sure. But coincidentally, Frontline Assembly were in town quite a bit around that time to work on an album. The keyboard player was seeing the girl from the Fashion Nation and stuff like that. So that's where like I feel like, okay, this is a really central part of the what I call the crazy making experience. This definitely is something that was driving me crazy. It was very upsetting, and I'm just like, well, then what the heck's happening to me? So I think the very next video I kind of want to talk about how I was getting all this other cross information. So anyways, I'm gonna end it here. May you have a nice day, and I want to share one quick glimpse. I'm going to be heading back this way, back to my truck. I'm so excited that I was able to make it out to the woods finally. Yeah, this is where I live, in the Flathead Valley. I like to think that when I'm jamming out the Frontline Assembly that I put the FLA in the Flathead Valley. I grew up in the FLA Keys. That's where I discovered the band. And in Denver, I had all these kind of funny coincidences when I met Bill Lieb. And well, I made friends with Rosie, who was the one taking care of Bill Lieb. And she's the one that helped me move to Montana. I would have never moved here if it wasn't for Rosie. And so the reason I'm here is because the visionary state stuff was making me look so bad. I felt like it ruined a lot of relationships with my friends. And Rosie was the only person I could talk to. So that's really a big part of the reason I was here. And by me showing you where I live, it's like saying, you know what, I don't give a fuck if somebody's stalking me. I don't care if you're fucking Bill Lieb or the feds or aliens or Sasquatch, okay? Now you can do what you're gonna do, and I don't give a damn. So you guys, I'm gonna finish this hike without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.